Today, I want to learn more about a company called DRONAMICS, and they're on a mission to democratize air freight and lower the cost of shipping in emerging markets. And to achieve this, they're developing a new type of cargo plane. But here's the cool bit. It's small, it's unmanned, and extremely fuel efficient. It can transport 350 kg over 2,500 kilometres for a cost that's 50% lower than any other aircraft. And of course, it flies autonomously. It can be monitored and managed remotely, all through satellites. And the whole system actually costs less than a sports car. Now, when I first heard about this, I thought, this doesn't sound possible. But they keep proving that it is. And they've called this aircraft the Black Swan. And it can land on short and unpaved runways, enabling on-demand, point-to-point flights and speedy same-day delivery, even to the most remote locations. The kind of locations I'm talking about is the kind that would take days to reach over ground or sea. So essentially, they're using technology to solve very, very real problems. When I was researching them, they were starting with domestic air networks in Africa, Asia and Latin American countries, with fleets of the Black Swan taking advantage of a multitude of small airfields that are often unused. So I always say on this show that technology works best when it brings people together. So in this case, using autonomous aircraft and partnering with local industry to provide a valuable lifeline of getting goods in and out of small remote mountainous or island communities within hours at a cost that is often below even road transportation. That is my kind of language. I mean, a technology that can transform whole economies. It doesn't get much better than that. And this company is also based in Sofia in Bulgaria. But today's guest is waiting for us all the way in Cape Town, South Africa, where he's spreading the word about what they're doing with DRONAMICS. But I was able to get him out of the conference just for a few moments so he can come and speak with us today. So buckle up and hold on tight so I can beam your ears all the way to Cape Town in South Africa so we can speak with the co-founder of DRONAMICS. So, massive warm welcome to the show. Can you tell our listeners a little bit more about DRONAMICS, where you're based, and what your company's mission is?
Sure thing. My name is Svilen Rangelov. I'm one of the two founders of DRONAMICS. I founded it with my brother, Konstantin, 4.5 years ago. And our purpose and mission is to develop a new type of unmanned aircraft that is specifically designed for cargo, in order to make cargo a lot more efficient than it currently is. We're based out of Sofia, Bulgaria. We have a presence in London as well, and our markets are all across Africa, Asia, the Americas, the Middle East. It's basically trying to transform the logistics networks of mostly emerging markets, but also large countries, large in both the geographic and economic sense.
And a couple of problems I'd like to address and just educate the listeners about here is, can you describe the challenges with delivering air cargo today? For example, I read, I think it was in Wired, where you stated that most small delivery drones are an attempt to solve the last mile problem. They are the bike messenger and we are the cross-country truck. But what did you mean by that?
What I mean is that there's a variety of ways for you to do the last mile, to do the final delivery between, let's say, the shop and the customer's address, or the distribution point and the customer's address. But when you look at a country, for example, South Africa, okay, South Africa has a thriving economy, and but for a lot of the goods that they import, they all come through Johannesburg, and then they get redistributed throughout the country, because you have consumers all over the place, not just in the capital. And it will be very inefficient if you just keep putting them on trucks, in the sense that, yes, it will take it will be cheap, but it will take a long time. What we're trying to do is to create those new city pairs that are not able to exist right now, because currently aviation uses the most expensive and the biggest type of vehicles and delivers them only between the most expensive and biggest type of real estate, the airports, the main big airports around the world. So from most of the cargo's perspective, the occasion in which a package would touch an airplane and the part of the journey that is carried by air is very small. To give you some numbers, less than 1% of global trade is carried by airplanes. So 99 times out of 100, the shippers say, no, please do not put my package on an airplane because it's too expensive, or because the flights, are not where I need them to be, or the timetables are not when I need them to be. In South Africa, again, for every kilogram that flies, you have 10,000 kilograms that travel by road. So there's tremendous room for growth if one was to able to use a new type of vehicle, one that is small, one that is fuel efficient, one that is ultimately cheap. So that's why we said we need a new type of aircraft that is cheaper to produce and cheaper to operate, so that we can unlock these, less traveled destinations, these tier 2 cities that they don't have the main highways connecting to them, and so on.
And as a result of that, you developed the Black Swan cargo aircraft to address these exact challenges. So can you describe the aircraft and what makes it different from any other drone that people listening may be thinking about?
You see a lot of these flying taxis right now, Uber and a lot of companies are, showcasing every week a new type of vehicle that's supposed to be carrying people by air. We look quite conventional. We are an aircraft that looks like an airplane. It's a fixed wing, so we need a runway to take off and we need a runway to land. And that's precisely why we are going after the middle mile market, not the last mile. Yeah. And so the reason we do that is because horizontal flight is takes much less energy than vertical. And again, cargoers don't care if you use a donkey, if you use a drone, if you use an airplane. They just want the goods as quickly and as cheaply as possible. So the customer is not going to tolerate absurd costs because of these new fancy technologies. So what you need to deliver to them is new technology at the cost of, old one, which is tremendously hard. So if you were to go on our website, you can see what the aircraft looks like. It looks like a regular aircraft, except that it's unmanned. Now, we chose the payload to be 350 kilograms precisely because we don't do the last mile. So we asked ourselves, okay, what is the most common vehicle in the whole world to do the last mile? And it's all these like small utility vans, kind of like the Renault Kangoo, the Ford Transit Connect, the ones that are basically city vans. And we said, let's have our aircraft match one of these, because currently you have very big airplanes which unload their cargo on a bunch of 18-wheelers, but the 18-wheeler itself cannot really stop in front of my apartment building and cannot do that last mile. So it itself has to make an additional stop and hand over again the cargo to those smaller vans anyway. So we just said, let's cut that part. Let's just skip it and let's just distribute the cargo from the beginning between these small aircraft, because the packages are smaller than that anyway. So that's why we chose 350 kilograms as our payload. And the range, we can cover 2,500 kilometers, because the markets that we are going to operate in Africa, Asia, Latin America, the distances are vastly larger than the distances in Europe. So, it's a lot more meaningful to offer long range.